me just introduce this for a second. I mean, everybody that's here knows who Glenn is, obviously. He is co-founder of Tones on Tail. And what we're doing here is in part celebrating the 10th year anniversary of this Facebook Tones on Tail fan page being created. But it's 40 years since Tones on Tail were last together as a band. And it just happens, as you all probably know, that this 10th year anniversary of this fan page coincides with a reformation of Tones on Tail, let's say, Tones on Tail, who will be performing at this year's Cruel World Festival. And they'll be playing all Tones on Tail material. Unfortunately, Glenn is not able to be with them for the show, so they will be using Kevin's daughter again, Diva. So with that, Glenn?
Yeah. We're there. Sorry, folks. Yeah. A couple of old guys playing with technology.
There you go. Okay. I already did an introduction. I don't know how much of it you heard.
Nothing.
Well, I just stated the obvious that today is the 10th year anniversary of this Tones on Tail Facebook fan page, and that it coincides with a reformation, at least in name, of Tones on Tail performing at this year's Cruel World Festival.
Right.
And, unlike the Pop Tones thing in 2017, they will be playing nothing but Tones on Tail music on the 11th in Pasadena, California. This is also coincides with the 40th year anniversary of I guess you guys touring in '84. Okay. Peter Tomlinson asked the question, was mostly wondering if there's ever a chance that you guys are going to get back together again. Sensitive question perhaps, but meant earnestly, simply because their achievements as a band are unparalleled.
Right. The short answer to that is I don't think so. For various reasons, and for the same reasons I'm not playing at Pasadena. I've got health issues. My fingers are not as nimble as they used to be. And if I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, I haven't played a full set, live set, for God knows how long. So it would be an astronomical achievement for me to actually do the live thing anyway. That was one of the things that me and Danny discussed. There were other things in there as well. For instance, I'd have to go over there for several weeks to rehearse if that option, if we took up that option. So as far as creating stuff now, it's just a very different time now, and 40 years have gone. You know, it's a very difficult thing to do. You can't just bung three guys in a room and expect them to be instantly creative and have the same amount of sparkle and magic that you used to have 40 years ago. It's just not going to happen.
Oh, sure you can.
Oh, well, I know. Me and you have had this conversation many times, haven't we? And you're like, you know, you're Mr. Super Positive, and I love you. But you know, the reality of it is, it is an extraordinarily difficult thing to do. And like I said, you know, the atmosphere still there? Is you know, the same relationship won't be there. It'll be almost impossible, I think. And I mean, I think Danny would think exactly the same thing, you know. And like he said, we've both moved on. I've been doing my own stuff for the past 10 years. I'm really enjoying that. I love the way I'm working with it. You know,
And for those that
work, does he work in the same way? You know, I don't know.
and for those that aren't familiar with the name of your project, could you tell us?
A Lone Station, yeah. I've
Right.
been doing Lone Station with Mark Garner for the last 10 years. You know, that really has come to a conclusion as well, because there's only so much you can put into that. You know,
Well, I'm just going to go with the next person here, Greg Mitchell. I'm going to ask part of his question.
Yeah.
Because the second part of his question, I don't know that you want to go into. I'll
Sure.
read the whole question, and if you want to delve into the second part, okay.
Yeah.
He writes, did you want to record a second album, I guess, back then?
Yes.
And how do you feel about the decision now? And what did you think about Pop Tone?
There's another one with 3 questions in it.
Yeah. And he asked, well, obviously, I don't think Pop Tone toured outside of the United States. So the last part of his question was, did you see them? So I'm pretty sure you didn't see them.
I saw some video of them.
Yeah.
I've got my own opinion of it. I wasn't consulted about it, and I wasn't happy about it at the time, but I understood why Danny did it, you know. And that's I suppose he's right to do that. You know, he did contact me to ask me what you know, to ask me about the idea of playing Pasadena gig and what the realities was. So he was quite respectful in that way, you know. The other questions, what was the other question on there? Sorry.
Oh, the first part of it was, back then, were you wanting to record a second album?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we had a contract that would span 5 years, basically, at the time. And when we came back from the American tour, I was raring to go. We were ready to go on to the next album. And unfortunately, Danny kind of finished it. That was it. You know, he kind of, one day he says, he got off the plane and he said, I don't want to do this anymore. And that was it. And there's no change in Danny's mind. Once he's made his mind up about something, there was no discussion. It's just like bang, finished, done. And you know, that was the end of it. Shame, but like I said, I think they were to do with the pressures of becoming a full-time band. There was a huge difference between the part-time venture that we started out and then became a full-time band. And we had to tour and we had to produce an album every 9 months. That was in our contract. So it was, there was a lot of pressure there. And I don't think some of us handled that pressure very well. I think everything kicked off too prematurely. I think we were very ill prepared at the time for what came. I mean, we did the UK tour, the American tour, which were both quite strenuous, and we had to learn to do our material very, very quickly live, because we were always a studio band. So we had to learn how to do all of our stuff live in a very short space of time, you know. And we were still learning as we were touring, you know, and we were mastering it as we were going along. But personally, I would have liked, you know, a good couple of months rehearsing a live set. Yeah. In reality, we had about 3 weeks or something. So it was really strenuous. You know, we managed to do it, but you know, it was. I don't think it was ever refined as well as it should have been. I think we could have got better and better and better as we went along. And of course, all this was very new to me. I was, you know, I was backstage at one point with Bauhaus, and then I was on the stage, you know. So I think, you know, I did a UK tour, an American tour, and that was the end of it. So it was a very short-lived project, you know.
I remember in 1984, I bought this tour T-shirt.
Oh,
No, I'm
that's one of
joking.
mine, yeah.
I'm joking. There was no tour T-shirt in 1984.
No, I invented those.
But I
Yeah.
thought it was great that within the last 10 years, you all, and I'm pretty sure this is your design. I've got both the American and the European shirts.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just going to ask that question myself.
UK one has got the British flag on it, yeah, instead of the American flag. Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought it was brilliant that you all put out those shirts.
Well, it was my idea with another guy, Chris Minister. Yeah. And we launched it. You know, we launched the idea, and I was pretty cheesed off that they ended up on the Pop Tone tour, but it was a money earner for me, the merchandising. So all was good in the end, I suppose. You know.
Yeah, I remember at the beginning of that, the first time I heard of Christopher Minister, I'm pretty sure it was in association with these shirts. And the way it came up, this was before you had a presence on Facebook. And I recall asking Danny's girlfriend at the time, you know, because there was talk of marketing it on the Tones Don't Tell Facebook page, among other places. And my concern was, well, are all three members going to be able to profit from the T-shirt? And Danny's girlfriend was the first one that confirmed it. And then I think Christopher Minister also confirmed it. And then later you confirmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just saying messages. People are saying make more shirts, please. Well, you know, Danny, when I spoke to Danny back in December about the Pasadena gig, I said, look, let me put some designs together for the shirts, you know, like I did for the well, they ended up on the Pop Tone tour, but they weren't. It was just meant as a separate enterprise at the time. But I said, let me, you know, you've got enough pressure, you've got enough things to think about. Let me sort that out. And he said, no, we're giving it some company in LA, and poo-pooed my idea. So yeah, that was that.
Okay.
Make bootlegs and have someone else sell them. That's good. Make bootlegs. Yeah.
I'm going to ask what appears to be 3 or 4 questions from the same person.
Go.
This is from our friend Kong.
Oh, Kong. Yeah.
And one of the questions he had,
that guy,
is what's your favorite bass pedal effects?
Oh, well, I always use the chorus and a fuzz pedal.
Okay.
God, what make was it? I've still got it. It's in my studio. Still got both my pedals, and they still work.
Yeah. I know that you just got your 8-string back from the museum exhibit that was there in Northampton. Yeah, I was going to ask you to sleuth to it, so some of us could drool about it.
Oh, well, it's hung up on the wall, and it's quite strange, actually. You know, we were talking, it's stringed as an 8-string at the moment.
Oh.
Because I displayed it in the museum as an 8-string. I thought it'd be more interesting for people to show them what an 8-string bass is. And you know the trouble I had trying to find the strings, because I asked you to help me out, you know. And I managed to get a set of strings which cost a bloody fortune, and they've been in the museum for like 6 months, and the new strings on there have gone rusty. I mean, damn. the quality of stuff these days, mate.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, these bass strings, the lower end strings, they've been on there for 40 years. They're the same strings that I used when I played in Cleveland and on the American tour. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of Cleveland, I've got another question. I haven't seen it on the page here, but I know it was asked. Jeff Pell, who was the drummer in the opening band for you here in Cleveland, Shadow of Fear,
right?
Who I later worked with in another band.
Yes.
I think his question was, and it may be a little self-serving.
I did see.
What was your favorite opening band?
Well, I'll tell you what. I saw that question from Jeff, and my answer is every one of those support bands were brilliant.
Yeah.
And they were truly support bands. They helped us so much on the American tour, each and every one of them. And I mean, to give you an example, we turned up at one particular venue. We were supposed to, you know, the venue was supposed to supply amps and a drum kit for Kev because we weren't taking that gear with us. We had just the basics, the guitars and a couple of keyboards, and that was it. Everything else had to be provided by the venue. And we turned up at this venue. I won't mention any names. And the guy was off his head on acid or something. And, you know, the guy, the venue guy. And we thought, God, we can't do the gig. You know, if we can't do this gig, we can't go on to the next gig. It kind of almost killed the tour. And what happened? Yeah, the support band, these guys came in and they said, oh, we're the support band. And I wish I could remember their names. Maybe they can get in touch or something. But they said, yeah, don't worry about the venue guy. He's always like that. You know, you can use our gear, our amps, our drum kit. And everywhere we went, LA, you know, San Francisco, everybody was so helpful, you know, all over, right across the States. And that's what a support band does, you know. That they were just brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that
so I'm not going to pick out one anyway. So that'd just be mean.
I had heard that there are some American bands that have toured Europe and England that have experienced the same thing, where there were British bands and other European bands that helped them out in the same way.
Yeah. It's quite funny. I mean, when we, you know, early Bear House days, when we were supporting other bands, I mean, Bear House's first support slot was with Magazine, and they were absolutely magnificent. You know, they supported them and gave them an awful lot of their resources and help on stage and all that. They were fantastic, you know. But that carried over with Bear House when they started to headline their own gigs. We treated support bands with an awful lot of respect, you know, and just help them out wherever we could.
Okay.
So yeah,
I wanted to get back and finish some of what Kong was wondering. He was wondering if you. Another thing he was wondering is if you wrote any of the lyrics for Tones on Tail.
No. Oh, what's going on? Something's going bing bing.
Yeah, I heard something too.
I used to help Danny with the lyrics. There was he'd write some lyrics, and I'd say, "Oh, that word sounds a bit strange. Change it. Let's change it for this." And he'd listen and he'd cross it out and go, "Yeah, let's put that in." So, but no, I wasn't. I'm not a lyric writer. I love messing with drum machines and bass guitars and keyboards and synths and all those disgusting things you hate, you know.
Well, I was going to ask you. I was going to say something about the way you guys performed live, because I made the same mistake for years of thinking of you only as a bass player, but you weren't just a bass player. You played bass, you did keyboards, you played 12 string on I think at least one of the songs.
You, the night and the music.
Danny played saxophone and obviously did vocals and guitar.
And Danny
Did Kevin
played bass on Happiness? Yeah.
Did Kevin play anything? I sort of got the feeling that maybe he might have played some keyboards.
No. Live, when we played live, because in the studio I was playing multiple instruments, so I'd be playing string synth or a synth and bass. When we did live, we had to. This was all about working things out. I had to get Kevin to play some of the keyboard lines, string synth lines. So, you know, we had to remove him from his drum riser and put him on my keyboard.
And he assumes that all the material you all put out was recorded at Beck's studio?
The best stuff, I think, was recorded at Beck's studio. We all used to love Beck's studio. It's where Bearhouse recorded Bela Lugosi, you know. I mean, it was, we've been going there for years and years. And it was like going home every time we went back there. And it was so comfortable, it was so easygoing, it was so relaxed. And Derek, the guy who used to own it, he was such a patient guy with us, because the things we used to get him to do, to ask him to do, cutting up 2-inch tape and things like that, putting reverse echoes on stuff, you know. And then saying, no, that doesn't work. Can you weld it all back together, please? You know, he had the patience of a saint, Derek did. But I've always thought the best stuff that we ever did came out of there. Go, we recorded there. Burning Skies, we recorded there. The very early stuff that me and Danny did, you know, Bigger Splash, the 4-track EP, that was all done at Beck. There's Only One was Beck studio. It was just a wonderful place, and it was only a 16-track studio. And you know, that was such a good thing, because it limits you. You know, we did a track called Performance in Beck when Kevin was with us, and of course a drummer needs at least 8 to 10 tracks to you know, so 8 or 10 of your 16 tracks are already gone. So right. What we ended up doing was recording the drums and the bass together, and then having to bounce the drums onto 2 tracks to free up tracks, and it became very, very difficult. But we made the mistake of going to an extremely complex, very posh and very expensive 64-track studio, and it didn't suit us at all. It was, we overcomplicated everything, and I think having just that little 16-track studio made it, you know, kept us within our limits, within our confines, and that was great, you know.
Yeah, it was more creative problem solving.
When we tried to do stuff in bigger studios, we just it's kind of, you've got all these things at your disposal, and you tend to look at them and go, oh, let's put a bit of grand piano in something, or you know, let's put a bit of this in, let's put a bit of that in, and all of a sudden you're filling up, you got 32 tracks filled or 48 tracks filled already, and that just overcomplicates things.
I'm sure I'm going to butcher this name, Maurizio. Sorry. Were the songs born out of improvisation? How was your writing process?
Initially, well, early days, I suppose. I mean, the way we started out, me and Danny used to live in the same place together, and he was working on a solo thing while he was in Bearhouse, and he'd already written 2 tracks of the Bigger Splash EP, and he wanted to borrow my drum machine, so I lent him the drum machine, showed him how to use it, And then he said, look, can you come up with a bass line to this? And I had a really crappy old bass line with a warped neck. So it was only safe to play one string. So I did a one string rendition on this thing, and he went, great, that's it, that's great. And then we did another track, and Beggars said, well, 4ADs, was it 4AD? Yeah, it was 4AD. I said, yeah, go in the studio with it, record all 4 tracks, you know. That was it. We were born. And, you know, the good thing was we were doing all of this in between Bearhouse gigs. So it was all very casual, you know. And I sometimes think maybe we should have stayed as a casual 2-piece, you know, instead of biting off more than we could chew, to be honest. I think, you know, I think Danny would agree with that.
Me personally, I love equally the stuff that was done with the drum machine, but Kevin Haskins, because of what he did in Bauhaus and what he did in Tones on Tail in particular, and what he did in Love and Rockets, stands as my favorite drummer.
Oh, Kev's a great drummer,
yeah,
without any doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think another problem that occurred, if you can call it that, was, you know, when we were a 2-piece, decision making was only an argument between 2 people. And then when you get 3 people in there, it becomes almost impossible if you're all making decisions, you know.
Yeah.
And you get this thing where you know, you get a democratic choice, you know. So if 2 people agree on something, the other one gets his nose pushed out, and things like that. So it became increasingly difficult to get your ideas over and things like that as a 3-piece. But Kev was fun. It was great to work with Kev. Kev's a solid drummer.
Yeah.
You know.
Robert Williams wants to know if there are any other, I guess, live footage that may see the light of day.
No, the only footage that, I mean, video in those days was almost non-existent. You had to be a big mega pop band to have a record company who would pay for your video. But the only footage there ever was the footage that Graham Bentley gave me for the Night Moves gig in Glasgow. And he just gave it to me, what was it, couple of 2-3 years ago now, and he said, it's yours, you do what you want with it. And Graham had just turned up at that gig with his family as an outing, you know. But as usual, Graham takes all of his video gear with him and videoed the gig, and I'd forgotten all about it. And then, like I said, 2-3 years ago, he was digitizing all of his old Betamax stuff, and he found this Night Moves gig, and just gave me the thing and said, do with it what you want. So I got into creating video under Lone Station Creation.
Yeah, I'm going to be reposting those over the course of this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
But really, that was all of what he had, you know. What I did with the video was I broke it up into individual tracks, did a bit of messing around at the beginning and the end of each one. But I also had the live tapes that Pete Edwards recorded from the desk. He'd recorded every show on the desk, everything that went through the PA. So all the drums and the bottom end stuff was all there. And what I did was, because the audio on the video alone was pretty awful, you know. It's just the nature of the thing, isn't it? It's just a weenie microphone on the end of the camera. So what I did was combined the bottom end audio from the live tapes, from Pete Edwards' live tape, and welded it together with the video.
Is it possible for any of that live audio to be released on either vinyl or some other medium?
I doubt it. I mean, Andy Brooksbank, a good friend of ours, we looked into the idea. A lot of the live tapes, Pete's live tapes, are just unusable on their own, because like some of these venues were very, very tiny, and Danny's amp didn't go through the PA. It was never mic'd up. It was just his amp. His amp was so loud, he didn't need to put it through the PA. So it was just bass, drums and keyboards. So, you know, I think disappointingly, a lot of Danny's guitar is missing from the live desk tapes. There's a few which you might get away with, but it wouldn't. I don't think it'll make a very good live album. You know, yeah. Danny's guitar is far too quiet in there, and there's nothing you can do. You can't separate it.
Yeah,
because it's on tape. It's just stereo left and right. That's it. You know. And
well, you know, it's funny, you know, with the emergence of AI, and I don't pretend to be an expert on it at all. You never know. I mean, the technology might get such where you can actually do really acceptable separation. Never know.
Oh, there's somebody just put a post up. I've just caught a glimpse of that. The Night Moves. Oh, I don't know. You probably. Night Moves show is missing the video of Slice of Life. Possible. I think Slice of Life is on there. I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look at it again. There may be a track on there.
I'm sure I'm going to butcher this last name, so I'm just going to go probably with the first name, Deborah.
Yeah.
I think it's Giatina. Do you remember? I kind of like this question. Do you remember writing Burning Skies, and how did it come together?
Well, like a lot of the tracks, I mean, a lot of the tracks started with bass lines.
Right.
Go started as a bass line, and I think I'm right in saying Burning Skies started as a bass line. And, you know, Danny was really good at picking up things. He'd say, yes, stick with that. That's great. I can work with that, you know. And 9 times out of 10, that's how we ticked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean that's an outstanding, definitely one of my favorite Tones on Tail songs.
It's actually a very, very simple track, and you know, it's a typical Beck track where, like I said, we're only limited to 16 tracks, and I don't even think we used up 12 tracks on that. So yeah, that's pretty, you know, it is pretty basic. Yeah.
Okay, Christopher Macbeth.
Sorry?
Christopher Macbeth asked the question, or says, those bass riffs help define the sound of Tones. As a bass player myself, what inspiration or influence, if any, were present during those sessions? So I guess he's asking what you were influenced by,
well,
maybe as a bass player.
my all-time hero is Jar Wobble. You know, I've seen him play. He's like the Jimi Hendrix of the bass. He plays it second nature. I mean, he's such a good bass man, you know. But I mean, Barry Adams from Magazine. I was when Bear House was supporting them. His bass sound was incredible, and he had a chorus effect on that. And I asked him what his setup was, and pretty much copied it.
Yeah,
I'm a very naughty boy. Yeah, I used Barry's. Yeah.
Well,
but I did add fuzz bass to it, give it a bit more individualism. You know. Individuality.
I think Christopher may have also been talking about if the band had a sort of influence. I know that you all were influenced for Slender Fungus by the residents. Any other bands influence what you all were doing?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Happiness. There was a track we did called Happiness. And that was really a tribute to The Cure. The Cure did a track called Love Cats.
Yeah.
And Danny absolutely loved that track. I mean, he loved it. And I think we tried to emulate it, you know, in our own fashion.
Yeah.
And Slender Fungus, that foul stench that you just mentioned, the one you love so much. Yeah, that was us off our heads, paying tribute to the residents, because we all loved the residents, you know. They're supposed to be playing here this year. I think I've missed them. I think they were playing in March, the residents in England, and I bloody well missed them. Damn. Anyway.
A Max Zarouche. I'm just going to give up on that last name.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this. He asks, do you play 8-string bass or a 4-string with a octaver, which I guess is a special effects
No,
box?
it's not. There's your 8-string bass. It's an 8-string bass, but I've only played it on one track as an 8-string.
Gee, I wonder what song that was.
I wonder.
Huh?
It's another one of your favorites.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote earlier that basically that song is the seed that got me into you all. And
yeah, I read your thing earlier on. Yeah.
I mean, it's questionable whether this page would even exist if I hadn't heard you all that on that drive to wherever I was going.
Fate, a strange thing.
We've already talked to Brenda York asked if you're going to be attending Cruel World.
I thought seriously about that idea. Initially, I put out a post saying, yeah, I'll be there for the after show and a cup of tea. But when I actually thought long and hard about it, I just thought it's going to be absolute torture to stand and watch the band and say to myself, I should be up there, you know. So, yeah, I went right off the idea. Completely stupid idea, Mr. Campling, that was. Yeah. I just thought I couldn't bear the idea of standing watching the band that I'm supposed to be in.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went off it. So, just to console myself, I went out and bought a motorbike instead. I spent my vacation money on a motorbike. So, yeah. A mad motorbike.
Okay. Michael McLeod says, when the band was created, did it have a music direction or did it emerge while working together?
Well, the good thing about Tones was that we had no direction whatsoever. We had no rules. The rule was there are no rules, you know. So, you know, when we started, I think for Danny, I think it was a breath of fresh air for him, because he couldn't have done those sort of sounds within the Bauhaus environment. I think they tried on more than one occasion. I think they tried to experiment with some of their gigs, you know, and throw in a few experimental tracks. And they went down like lead balloons with people, and, you know, the audience weren't tuned into it at all. So they were pretty disappointed with that. But with Tones, I mean, Danny could do whatever he wanted, you know, and the thing was, we were always labelled as a goth band, but we never thought of ourselves as a goth band. I mean, a goth band doesn't come out with a track called Go, do they? I mean, you know.
Well, they also don't come out wearing white.
Exactly. And we wore white on purpose just to try and get away from the dark black image, you know.
Right.
Just as a statement to say, look, this isn't their house. This is not their house. This is something else.
Well,
So
I always thought that there were certain bands that were like the impetus for a new genre. They weren't in and of themselves that genre, because to me, in order to have a genre, there has to be at least the second band that follows or tries to follow in that line. And I thought Bauhaus was one of those bands that was an impetus for the gothic or goth, I hate that four-letter word, goth, genre. And it's not every band that seems worthy to me of that, but Tones on Tail seemed like one of those bands. And I've written about this before, how I thought there should have been other people that followed behind that. I could have easily seen Tones on Tail starting a genre that I would have called weird pop. And
yeah,
I think
I like
Creatures, I think the Creatures,
the Creatures,
Susie and Budgie, they could have actually gone into that category.
Yeah, I did like the Creatures stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Far more than I liked Susie and the Banshees, you know. But there were other bands like that we met on tour, Tuxedo Moon. I think I've mentioned them, San Francisco band, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they were pretty otherworldly with their stuff. Very, very talented musicians, those guys. You know.
See.
Yeah, I mean, another weird bunch over here was Cabaret Voltaire, but they were mostly synthesizer stuff, you know. And I used to absolutely love Cabaret Voltaire because they were doing punk with synths, you know. It was great.
Yeah. Did you like the band Chrome?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, Graham Bentley showed me some footage of Chrome, I think. And I seem to remember I had a Chrome album at one time. Probably still got it somewhere. I've got a load of vinyl there that's getting well dusty, but
that's good.
Yeah.
Warren Hoff, I think he may have invited me to play music with him. I thought I was going to be able to make it to the Cruel World Festival, which I'm not going to be able to make that. But so I think part of this may actually be for Daniel Ash. How did Daniel and you end up writing songs together? What was the songwriting process? Well, some of that's been answered, but then he goes on to say, "Hi, Danny. I have all those amazing bass lines. Want to jam on them. What attracted you to that unique bass?" So I guess it's more to you, unless he's speaking of Daniel playing bass at times as well.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite.
I don't quite understand the question myself.
I don't.
So I guess I'm going to move on. Aaron B asked, whoa, no. Sorry, Aaron.
Is that the road?
Glenn and I talked about this already.
Question, you know.
And we're not going to go in that area.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of my mates winding me up or something, you know. It's probably Kevin Askins disguising himself as somebody else, and you know, just
it was a question about your employ before Tones on Tail.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I'll answer that quite simply. And how did we all get involved? Quite easy. We all went to art school together, and we were all graphic design students initially. David did graphics, Kevin did graphics, I did graphics. Danny initially did graphics and then changed his mind halfway through, where we heard that before, and became he did 3D industrial design for the remainder of his remaining year or 2 years. So yeah,
let me ask you what you think of this.
And they were all always involved in a band somewhere.
Let me ask you what you think of this.
Yeah.
Because I thought about this within the last couple of days, related to bands that I really like or recording artists that I really like, and whether it's somebody like Jimmy Page or Brian Ferry or Brian Eno or a host of other artists that weren't just recording artists, but they were visual artists before that. And for me, it always seems like those persons, those bands that have visual artists, and it's like the more visual artists or artists in other disciplines that are in the band, the more unique and interesting the music is.
You're on about a lead man.
Say again?
You're on about a lead man, a front man.
No, I'm talking about the entire, like you just said, you were an artist, Danny was an artist, I think you said David was too. So, I mean, you've got a band full of visual artists that did extraordinary music. And I'm just saying, I've seen a trend that in most of the bands that I really like, that are doing really uniquely interesting things, most of them seem to have an artist in them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bands that I know come from an artistic background of some kind, you know.
Yeah.
It's a common thing. Going to art school was a very bohemian atmosphere. It was great. It was a creative place, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Brian Eno's
like we were all fairly creative people anyway. So, you know, that just spilled over into music.
Brian Eno promotes the idea that artists should not take jobs, that they should go on the dole and just create their art.
That's fine if you haven't got any kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you've only got yourself to be responsible for, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. The woo. Okay. Ryan Fadika asked the question, will there be a U.S. tour? And can you explain the covers of the albums?
After Pasadena, you mean?
Yeah, I think that's what they're asking.
Well, I hope not, personally. I know that sounds rather mean, but you know, Pop Tony, in my opinion, they exhausted any chance of another US tour. And really, if they do it as Pop Tone, I've got no objections to that. I wouldn't be too happy about them doing it under the name Tons on Tail. No, the Pasadena one-off, I'm fine with that. You know.
I guess
it mean, doesn't it? But I'm afraid, you know, it would just sound like another. It would just be another Pop Tone tour if they did that, and I don't think people would buy into it too quickly. I mean, when was it when they did their tour? 2017.
Yeah.
Instead. So several years ago. Maybe some people would want to see him again. Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know.
I'm going to go real quick related to another question here. I want to bring in a visual aid. So if you want to address anything that's coming here, I'll be back in a second.
Okay. Right. Well, I'll just go and smoke cigarettes then.
Hello? Hello?
Hello. Yes. You ran away, so I ran away as well.
to sort of finish out Ryan's question, because this came up in a discussion between us. They want to know what is coming out of the mouth of this image.
The face and shades, I call it.
It's what?
Face and shades. The image is called Face and Shades. It's one of Danny's. It was a silk screen, I think, that Danny did. Yeah. So you would have to ask Danny what is coming out of the mouth. But in black and white, doesn't look too effective, does it? I think, you know, it's supposed to suggest a trickle of blood.
Okay.
Because we had that image as a backdrop on our show in the UK.
Right.
Backdrop, and it was fluorescent red and blue. It was magnificent. It was huge, and I don't know what happened to the backdrop, but I seem to remember that trickle was in the red color.
Yeah, more than likely Vincent probably has it as bedspread.
Well, he's made enough t-shirts, hasn't he? So, you know, naughty boy, bootlegging little bugger. So, yeah.
Let's see here.
Small royalties, mate.
Just a moment.
I'm being highly unfashionable, smoking.
Okay. Someone named Erroneous Goldsworth
Yeah.
Says part of what made Tones on Tail so evocative was the high quality of studio experimentation, especially on the early singles. Now that so many people have home studios and are free to indulge in this, do you see yourselves as pioneers? And the rest of his statement is sort of cut off here.
Yeah, I understand that question completely. Yes. You know, when the internet kicked off, I thought there'd be a massive explosion of creativity. And I just thought this is wonderful because everybody is going to get a chance to be heard. They can stream their own stuff. They can record their own stuff. The equipment you need now is quite minimal. You just need a computer, right? To be creative. You've got to be creative with it. You can't just get a computer and let the computer do all the sounds for you. And the AI thing is quite disgusting to me. I don't like the idea of that at all. But I've been doing that with Mark for 10 years. We've got a purpose-built studio at the bottom of my garden, and we were completely creative there. We recorded pretty much in the same way though as Tones on Tail did. So we kept things to minimums as best we could. We didn't always succeed, but you know, I just continued that same style with Lone Station as I grew up with Tones on Tail. I kept exactly the same attitude. And I even created the bass lines in a Tones on Tail fashion, although not many people spotted that. And not many people spotted that Lone Station is actually an anagram of Tones on Tail.
Yeah, so. Yeah, you had to tell me that because I didn't realize.
You didn't know. Well, there you go, you see. You're not into anagrams, are you, mate?
And the last question that I have a copy of, you've actually already answered from Rob, who wanted to know if there were any obstacles that prevented the official full reunion of Tones on Tail at Cruel World. You've already answered that one.
What personal obstacles? I've got personal obstacles, yes. Yeah. I don't want to go into my health issues, but my fingers certainly are not as nimble as they used to be. And That's the sad fact of getting old, mate. That's it. You know, it's reality. And you know, that doesn't stop me from being creative. I've been creative with Lone Station for the past 10 years, and I rarely touch a bass on any of those tracks, but I work very hard on the bass lines, and I work exactly the same as Tones. A bass line will pop into my head, I'll render it and polish it and, you know, work on it to make it sound like a genuine bass. In fact, Kong's brother Andy, he said to me, "What cabs do you use?" And you know, what cabs do you use? What effects do you use on your bass for Lone Station? And I said, I don't use a bass. You know, it's all created on computer sequences, but I work very, very. It's much harder to actually create a bass line on a computer than it is to if your fingers are good, than to play it. You know, you've got a bass line in your head, and you go dum 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 dum, right? On a computer, you have to think about how long do you want that note to go, and you can extend that note or shorten it, or you can make it harder, softer, and all this sort of thing. So you refine it, and it takes an awful lot to refine a bass line on a computer. Yeah. Same with the drum kit, because I got into using Logic's AI drummer, and there he was a minute ago saying I don't like AI, but their drummer, it's not really AI, it's quite an intuitive thing, and it can sound very automated, but it takes an awful lot of work to make it sound genuine. You have to work on it to make it sound genuine, like a genuine drummer, because I was fed up with the drum machine-y sound. So and because we haven't got a real drummer, I got into using the drum part of Logic, and it is quite an amazing bit of gear if you play with it, and if you mess about with it in a tones on taily kind of way, you know. Yeah. So yeah, that attitude has stayed with me from Tones to what I even do now. Anything I create now, I still carry that tones on tail attitude with me.
So do you still have and use, even though you already told me the answer, the synth you were using?
I don't have my synths anymore. I had a Korg Mono Poly, which was a brilliant bit of gear, and they are well sought after synths now, vintage synths. They are. I used a program called Reason, and that's what I first started out on before I started using Logic. And they had a Korg Mono Poly in their instruments thing, and the interface on it was so familiar. I just took to it like a duck to water. It was great, you know. But unfortunately, I made the big mistake of loaning it to my brother, and it mysteriously disappeared. So, yeah, I like to rub salt in the wound every time I see him and tell him that that synth is probably worth about a couple of grand now. So, but yeah, you've got lots of synths now that reproduce those kind of sounds, you know. Korg Mono Poly used for performance, yes, it was. Yeah, I've just seen I keep seeing little things floating up, but they don't stay there for very long, and they're all on my phone, so they're tiny.
Yeah,
I have to squint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered most, if not all, the questions that were posted on the page. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff that's scrolling. My phone is small and my eyes are old.
Yeah, I'm withered. Oh, so disappointed that you shaved off your beard, mate. You look magnificent with that beard. You shaved your beard off.
I had a reason for it. I mean, I
Was
had
it?
it
It
even.
wasn't a stick-on one, was it? It was
No,
a, it was a full-on beard. That was, man. Wow.
no. At first, I had it. I got rid of it earlier today,
Yeah.
or sorry, late last night. And first, it started as a COVID beard, and then I decided I wanted to go for the old man by the sea look for
You
a
certainly did.
video that I wanted to do. And I did that video over the course of the last couple of days and streamed it. It was the first stuff that I did with GoLive.
Right.
And I had been putting it off for years. I don't like having a beard, believe it or not.
Yeah,
And so you're
I've
not going to ever
tried
see
and it
that
just
probably again.
scratches. Yeah, it scratches, it itches. Yeah,
Yeah,
horrible. I'm not brave enough to grow anything
yeah.
like you did.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sure my drummer is shocked right now. I just thought about this is the first time he's seeing me without it. So
You know what you should call this? You should call it Veto's TOT show. Veto's TOT show. That's a good name
I
for
think it was titled "A Conversation with Glenn Campling of Tones on Tail,"
it. Yeah.
something like that.
Veto's TOT show sounds, it's got a bit more of a twang to it.
Yeah, but somebody might expect another show, and that
Well,
ain't
you
gonna happen.
ought to get hold of Danny or Kevin or something, you know. That'd be a good idea.
Well, you know what? It would be a good idea, but I'm just going to be honest. Because of things that happened in 2017, I think it's going to be pretty impossible to get Daniel Ash to consent to come here. I'd love to have him come on here. I'd love to have Kevin come on here, but I think there's way more of a chance of Kevin coming on here or Diva coming on here, unfortunately, than there is Daniel Ash.
Okay. Well, I know he's busy with other things. I've learned today from Andy that Danny has got his hands full with other things after the Pasadena gig. They are rehearsing intensely at the moment. That's all I know in LA. So, you know, they're getting ready for the day.
Yeah.
It's going to be quite a gig, and I wish them all the good luck in the world, you know. I think it's going to be a great show. I mean, it's a very odd lineup, don't you think? It's a very strange lineup because you've got Duran Duran headlining. They're the last band on the day, and special guest Tones on Tail are second from last billing. So somebody asked earlier on what time are they going on? Well, if the gig finishes about 11, then I would imagine they'd be going on about 8:30, 9 o'clock or something, you know.
Yeah, I think that may have been the only question that was posted that I didn't read because I thought, well, if Glenn's not going to be there, he's not going to be able to answer what time they're going on.
Like I said, most of these things in the States, I think they finish about 11, don't they? So if you work backwards from that, Duran Duran, they'll probably go on for an hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how long the guys are going to play for. Maybe they're going to play for an hour. I don't know.
Vincent said that it's I guess he posted some information on the page. I haven't read it mainly because I'm not going. So, but he says it's a 45-minute set.
45, right? Because that was the other thing. They can't do every track. I know that. They're quite limited in what they can and can't do. Like, you know, I think they've got samples of some of my synth lines. But I can't name them straight away, but it occurred to me the other day, how are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Are they going to be able to do it? So, yeah, 45 minutes sounds about right to me.
Well, like I said to you a couple days ago, they could do the song Rain if they approached it, if they approached it like Robert Fripp and his League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I don't know if you've ever seen Robert Fripp and his League of Extraordinary Gentlemen,
No,
where it was basically a bunch of Robert Fripp clones.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like I said the other day, you could have like 7 or 8 other guitarists with EBOs, so you can have that cascading EBO effect at the end of Rain.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret about Rain. Okay, I think it started out as a track called School Days. Danny's title for it was School Days, and I certainly didn't like the name School Days. But we did this. We did the track with 8-string bass on it, and we found it a bit too morbid and lackluster, and we thought it was too short as well. So me and Kevin, that was recorded in Rockfield Studios. That was, and me and Kevin started playing around with the tape, the 2-inch tape, and flipping it over and playing it backwards. And we were doing mix after mix of backward mixes. Right. Of course, everything is all around the wrong way. You know, all of your instruments that were down here on the desk are now up there because you turned your tape round. But we just did this mad mix, and we kept mixing, and Danny was pulling his hair out, and he was saying, "What the hell are you guys doing? This is crap. This is nonsense," you know. And we would come up with something, me and Kevin, and Danny said, "Yeah, that sounds all right. That sounds good." So we actually welded it on the end of the first version of Rain that we'd done, and then added it, blended it in to make it a much longer atmospheric track, and it worked. It worked because we had all of Danny's EBOs going backwards. Now, you tell me, Mr. Veto, how you can do that live. Nope. No.
Actually, you could.
All right, here we go.
You could do it in Logic Pro because I've done it.
Oh yeah, you can actually. Yeah, but you can't do it live. I learned I'm doing reverse echoes and things like that in Logic. Yeah,
but you could have it as like playback tracks.
Yeah, well, most people these days, when they're performing live, they're not all performing live. That's one thing I've noticed. I went to see Propaganda in London, and you know, the first place I look is the mixing desk, and there's a guy working Logic on the mixing desk. So some of that stuff is like predetermined in Logic, you know. And I've seen that with many bands. So not everything you're hearing is live. They all cheat, you know. It's all cheating. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Unless you have something else, I mean, I think this has been a pretty good conversation.
We got there in the end, didn't we, mate? Yeah. I don't know what the hell was going on earlier on, but you know, we should have had a few more practices, and I think we would have been there. But maybe you can edit this and cut out all the garbage and make something.
Like I said, I'm new at this GoLive thing. The impression I get is that these GoLive sessions will stay on the page for 30 days, and then I think it's automatically deleted.
Yeah, why the hell we were timing out, I don't know. It was my end. So, yeah. Anyway, hope congratulations on your 10-year existence. Well done, everybody. I want to thank everybody on the Tones on Tail group. Thanks for keeping us alive. You know, maybe it's through them that we got the opportunity to get this Pasadena gig. Who knows? You know, you kept us going, so much appreciated.
Yeah, the fans are great.
Yeah. Yes, they are. Yeah.
And the other admins,
Sure.
other admins.
Yeah. Yeah. Much appreciated.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What time is it there?
It's way past the witching hour, mate.
Okay. All right. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes. Lovely. Okay, mate.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Bye all. Yeah. See ya.